I believe, Mr. Speaker, that at this stage of my political life, I should not be called by a Prime Minister to be told that she is going to the nation in the next 2 hours to make what she would call a cabinet reshuffle. But really, it is a removal from cabinet. We came to office, Mr. Speaker, at a time when, as you know, this country was reeling because of the maladministration of the Democratic Party. And we all operated as a family, as a team. And we've only been in government for 2 years. The first year, very little could have been done, and there was nothing, there was no money to do any housing. I mean, I'm a little surprised that since last week, I am seeing certain stories on social media with respect to what could have been done. With due respects for the honourable member for St. Michael Southeast, somebody even suggested that I was overshadowed by her. Certain comments referring to the fact that no houses have been built, and I had indicated that, and editorials, and I don't believe that the person of you could really do editorials in that nature unless they were framed. It is like, I don't want to use the Donald Trump language, fake news. But obviously, editorials and comments being staged unfairly with respect to my stewardship. I heard the honourable members spoke in this House with respect to the housing program. I have a passion for housing, no two ways about it. And I recall during my first term or rather the first time that I was Minister of Housing, we had some excellent programs. It was the glory days of housing, and they're all initiated, not all initiated by me as Minister of Housing. The mortgage, the program under the Housing Credit Fund, the $50 million bond issue, the negotiations with the banks, get 100% mortgage. Nothing has changed. And despite the fact that there are some people who have been spreading wild rumors, and they have been deliberate about my being in a wheelchair, about my being ill, I believe that at this particular point in time, I enjoy the best health for anybody my age. I mean, and I don't have any health issues. And I wonder whether or not these things were not orchestrated in order to make it appear as though I was way past my time. I am not. But, Mr. Speaker, there are ways of doing things. The same thing could have been achieved, only if it was handled a little differently. But to be treated like this, you know, I had to ask myself, what? I mean, was it worth it? Was it worth it? The sacrifice that you have made, and then to be treated in this undignified manner is, you know, I just don't know what is the reason for it. There's anything more that I have done that I could have done. And there have not been no failings on my part. And you had bad administration by the Democratic Labour Party, poor economic situation, not being able to do the things that you as Minister of Housing would like. Then you have the intervention of COVID. And you use the opportunity in order to get a program in place. And sometimes in order to get a proper program, it takes sometimes 2, 3, sometimes you could spend 5 years trying to get a proper program in place, because what used to be normal before COVID is not normal anymore. So you have to sometimes to scrap all of those plans that you might have had. You know, and I'm not saying that a person should be in any position forever. But I believe that the period that I have been around the Barbados Labour Party, it counts for something. And I cannot be dusted like that. It is something that I just don't understand. I just don't understand it. I mean, at a time when we as a team, as a party, I mean, I've got to know members of this party. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of organizations, a lot of institutions, and somehow or other, whenever I get involved, I don't like getting involved in institutions because when I get involved, at some point somebody wants me to lead it. And one thing I like about this organization is I've been around for a long time, and it's the only organization that I've ever belonged to that I didn't have to lead. I've been involved with, even at my community service level, Kiwanis International, at the highest level. I mean, and I'm talking about years ago. And I don't think that, you know, that having had that sort of record, that this is the way that, that one should be treated. And today, I'm happy for today because this is part of my work coming to fruition. The work of the Ministry of Housing is a very complex one. The work of the Ministry of Housing doesn't just involve you turning up and turning the sod to build 9 houses for squatters, and you think that that is the end all of housing, simply for a photo op. That is not the way how we operate. You have to make sure that all of your planning is in place. No amount of urging could get me to go and do a photo op, turning the sod to do 9 houses when you know you have the whole country in terms of housing. And as the editorial of The Nation, I stand by what I saw, what I said. The only revision that I would make when I was reported as having said that the housing situation cannot be fixed in 20 years, and I was dealing with the outstanding 35, look what we're dealing with. 35,000 housing solutions at National Housing Corporation, and that has nothing to do with the 35,000 people who didn't come forward. The amount of squatters, you all remember, Sir Michael East don't like to use the term squatters, and I agree with him. And then those people, those innocent people who cannot afford to buy land at market value. These are the issues that we have to deal with. And now COVID, something that nobody ever expected. I mean, you cannot make decisions. To make certain decisions like the decision that was made 2 weeks at a time like this, I would not like to say it is irresponsible, but I can't get in a word, Mr. Speaker, maybe you can help me. But it was totally uncalled for. There's nothing special with respect to the changes that I have seen at a time like this. And you are going to tell me that after 40 years, after all of the work, not myself, that I've done together with my colleagues, after the type of family and the iron parlor that we have built around ourselves in terms of making sure that this country get the best that it deserves, you are no longer part of the transformational team. Somebody will have to tell me otherwise. I do not have to question the decisions that have been made. We live in a system, the former Prime Minister used to say that Barbados, and he was very blunt about it, that this Westminster-style government allows us to choose the dictator that we want. You know what I say? The Westminster-style system of government allows us to choose the dictator that we want. But how about when we don't get the dictator? How about when we get the dictator that we don't want? I mean, and it is unfortunate. Totally unfortunate. And as we look to housing, as I said, it doesn't only involve centered around the building of houses, housing solutions. And then the other complex issues, the registration of title. We had a situation where years ago, over 30 years ago, we had an individual who had no knowledge with respect to registration, land titles, conveyancing, who told us that the whole registration of title would be completed in 5 years. And we are now almost 40 years past that. And we are no longer near to having a solution to that problem. I mean, and these are things that you have to thought out, and you cannot think them out. You cannot come up with a solution to these problems. In 2 years, the question will be tenantries for you all.